Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Friday Night Tears. I'm Katie.
And I'm Jenna. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. How's your week or last 2 weeks been?
Pretty eventful. I finally got over, I believe, my COVID symptoms. So no longer coughing as much. How's your week going?
I'm really glad you're not coughing as much so we don't have to edit out those coughs like last time.
That was rough.
That was rough.
The reason why we did not post Friday Night Tears on the Friday it was supposed to happen, not like anyone's waiting, is because we went to MegaCon.
We did. We went to MegaCon and we thought we could swing it. Kind of like Jenna said, she's been sick and I've been traveling a lot for work, and so we were both, one thing about us is that we're very optimistic that we can handle a lot of things at one time.
Yeah. Overplanned.
Sometimes we can't. Sometimes we can't, and that's okay. But starting now and forever, we will post every 2 weeks. So this will come out, on the 10th.
Yes. What did you do at MegaCon?
MegaCon was crazy. I know you were only there on Saturday. Saturday was like, everyone was saying that they like oversold tickets, and it was crazy, especially because you and Michael were coming off being sick.
Yeah.
There was so many different people, and it was crazy. But yeah, we just shopped and hung out, and I met the Trailer Park Boys.
Which is so cool.
Who did you meet?
Oh my God. I met Billy West. I cannot believe I met like my vocal like artist hero.
I'm like, it's crazy too, because I remember when I told you like we were planning to go to MegaCon, you saw that he was on the list, and I was nervous that he wasn't going to be there on Saturday. Like, I don't know. I just was like, of course he's not going to be there. And then like just casually you like walked by and he was just sitting there at his table, and I was like, okay, this is fate. Like,
starstruck.
Yes.
It was pretty cool to meet him. I probably acted like a little bit of a brat, to be honest. I don't think I told you this. So we took, yeah, per usual. We took our photo, and then I looked at it and I didn't like the photo. So I straight up said, can we take another one? As if like I had a limited time. People were waiting in line, waiting for me. And I was like, yeah, we need to take another one.
Did he do it?
Yeah, he did. But he goes, are you serious? And I go, yeah.
Classic Jenna.
So
hey, at least he was nice about it.
Yeah.
So would we go back to MegaCon? Yes. Would we go back on a Saturday?
No.
Never.
I think I'm good on that.
Yep. But yes, it was very fun. So that's kind of what we've been up to. Just working. Yeah. So before we kind of get into this episode, we want to it'll be up by the time this episode is up in our link tree in our Instagram bio. We are Jenna has curated a playlist of a couple things. We're going to put all of the songs that are on our on repeat that we talk about throughout the episodes into a playlist. And then we're also going to put like our big hitters in there too. So every band we go through, we talk about like our favorite songs, but we're going to try to start being like, if this song is really important to us or just we really, really like it, we're going to put it into the playlist. Is that kind of what we're thinking, Jen?
Yeah. And then eventually it'll become a really perfectly curated playlist for you to listen to and kind of just go down memory lane of all the songs we've talked about.
Yeah. I kind of love that idea.
So what is this episode going to be about?
All right. This episode's genre is pop punk.
Woo!
Which I love this genre, and it's funny because I love all the genres, and that's kind of the best part about us doing our own podcast is that obviously we're, eventually we'll do genres
out.
Yeah, we'll have to venture out, but this is our 3rd episode, so we are in control, and I love pop punk. I remember when you brought this up to me.
Do you think, and any listeners out there, we could have a listener suggest the genre?
I think that would be actually really helpful because as we saw with last week, indie pop rock, the genres are so vague and so like it's it's kind of just crazy, and that's something that I know we talk about every week, but I would love if we had someone's help us suggest some genres, because
maybe try to challenge us or see what we can come up with within those bands and how we tier your favorite bands within that genre. So yeah, suggest something and we'll get to it.
Yeah, let's make a post about that too.
Okay, awesome. So let's get started, because I know we're getting close on like time here. We want to go over our time. We don't want you guys to listen to us for 2 hours.
Yeah,
we could.
Yeah,
we got a lot of great stuff in this podcast. So not only do we have all of our favorite pop punk bands, we also did an interview this podcast.
We did our first interview, and we're really excited. Before we take a break, just really quickly, kind of, if you want, Jenna, just to talk about pop punk just a little bit.
Of course.
It's so interesting, and I know we polled a bunch of our friends, but the one band that came to mind in everyone's brain when we said pop punk, what was it?
I believe it was Blink-182.
Blink-182. And I think that's kind of the band that comes to mind in everyone's head. We will be covering Blink-182, but there's also a lot of other kind of types of pop punk. I love that you were like, and we were like researching, you were like, make sure the punk, like, we can't forget about the punk. Like, punk is that like leather jacket, studded belt, like the Ramones, like,
it's just
punk.
Pop punk is just fun. It's not emo. It's very different from emo, and I don't want people to get confused by that, because it's more upbeat in their style of their music and the edge in their voice. They're like angsty teens.
Yes. Yeah, they pretty much talk about like growing up, hating their town. Very, like you said, upbeat, fast, and they do a lot of like those gang vocals where like multiple different people kind of get on the mic at one time. But it's a super interesting genre, and you'll see all these bands have something in common, but they're also pretty different, which is really cool that they can kind of still fit into the same genre.
And on the bands, we not only have the ones who pioneered pop punk, we have ones who are really new to the genre too. So it's a good spectrum.
It is. And this is not going to be the only pop punk episode that we do. So there's a bunch of bands that we left out, obviously, but this is just, this is our first one, and I'm really excited. So let's take a quick break, and then we will jump into our first band.
You got it.
All right, we are back, and we are so excited to get into our first band.
Yes.
Yes, so this band is called 4 Years Strong. They are initially a tier 2. They have had 8 singles and 7 albums. They have over 500,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and they have about 70,000 followers on Instagram.
That's not bad.
It's really not bad. And this is a band that I knew about. In high school, I was kind of a part of this pop punk, like, hardcore scene. So I would go to shows at skate parks and stuff. And so this was a band that I have kind of always known about. Did you know about them, Jenna?
I did. I didn't really know about them as well as you did, but I was familiar.
Yeah. So they're not mainstream, but they're kind of. They have a very like high pop punk energy. They have a lot of sing-alongs, a lot of gang vocals, and that's kind of what pop punk is all about. After kind of researching them, and like it's so interesting to kind of hear like what they're like, how did they figure out what they wanted, to sound like? They basically said that they developed their band based on the exact sound that they would want to listen to. So like they were just like, hey, we don't hear anything like this, so we're just gonna make our own, which I kind of love. I feel like we're kind of doing that with this podcast.
Oh, making it our own. This is the podcast we'd want to listen to.
It is. It really is. We do listen back, so
It's good. What is it? Road trip podcast.
It is,
because you could like pause our podcast and then listen to the bands.
Yes. And we actually have a couple people that have listened to this on road trip, so shout out to them. So 4 Years Strong, their first major album is called Rise or Die Trying. And it actually hit the Billboard Heat Seekers chart, which is kind of like a subsection of the Billboard charts for like the newer bands. And they got signed right after they released that album, which is pretty cool. Right afterwards, and I know that you checked this out, they released a cover album.
I love the cover album.
I know, we love a good cover. And they covered bands that really influenced them, and they're kind of different than what I would think. They covered songs like Ironic by Alanis Morissette, Spiderwebs by No Doubt, Fly by Sugar Ray, and so they're all kind of like chiller songs, but having that pop punk spin, like I loved it.
It's a fun album to listen to.
It is. Yep. Jenna loves a good cover.
If anyone's curious and for a good mix of cover songs, I've curated a playlist on Spotify. Happy to share it if anyone wants it.
I didn't know about that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You've been keeping that for me. So yeah, this band, like I said, they're kind of mainstream, kind of not. They have toured with some really big bands. So some of the bands that they've toured with are Blink-182, Rise Against, From First to Last, which is an emo band, very emo.
Oh, yeah.
A Day to Remember, which we love. Newfound Glory. So I think they've always kind of been like openers for those bands, but weirdly enough, they're actually playing in Orlando like the day this episode airs,
which is crazy. I wish we could go see them.
That's so random. I know.
What were some of your favorite songs? Do you know?
I didn't put that, so no, I don't. What were some of your favorites?
Okay. I believe some of my favorites were where we all float down here. I thought that one was pretty cool. I liked the entire cover album, obviously. And then I liked Heroes Get Remembered, Legends Never Died. The drums in that song are pretty fun. And then I think there was like a lyric like Go Down in History there. And then I think that this is another band that shows really great traits of a pop punk band. So it's really clear that they're pop punk to me, and which I truly love. And speaking of cover songs, so they did cover song album, and then someone did a cover song of them. So there's a lo-fi, it's like a whole thing. There's a lo-fi song by Less Gravity that covers their song Go Down in History, and that's pretty cool. You would not recognize the song by listening to it, but after I played back and forth, I was like, whoa, that's awesome.
Wow, I love that. That's so cool. I think I pretty much just love every song on their first album, Rise or Die Trying. That's the one that I used to listen to back in the day. But yeah, I agree with you. They're like typical pop punk. Like that's what I think that they sound like. So definitely a really good option for people that are looking for like upbeat, fun, kind of party pop punk type of band. And they were a tier 2, so we'll see what they are after analyzing the data.
We'll see. All right, so what's next, Katie?
All right, we are going to move into our next band, which is, I'm a little biased. This band is called The Wonder Years. They are kind of in the same realm as 4 Years Strong in terms of, I think they're fans. I think people that like 4 Years Strong also like The Wonder Years. So The Wonder Years were initially a tier 2. They have 7 singles and 6 albums. They have 600,000 monthly listeners on Spotify and about 100,000 followers on Instagram.
It's so literally the same as 4 Years Strong.
Very similar to 4 Years Strong. This band is one of my favorite bands of all time. We talked about them a little bit on the last episode. My on repeat song was from the lead singer's like solo project, but this band is like the epitome of pop punk. Every single song, they're from Philly. Every single song is about how they hate Philly, how they want to drive away and never look back.
Philly sucks.
Yeah. Sorry to our Philly listeners. But
they
yeah,
know it
Philly
sucks
too. They know. I've been listening to this band for a very long time, and throughout the years they've kind of matured and their style has changed a little bit, but they still stay true to their roots. So all their songs are still they're a little bit more mature in sound, but they're still very pop punk. And their lyrics and their sound is amazing. Like Dan Campbell, who's the lead singer, his lyrics are amazing.
Oh, speaking of his nickname is Soupy. That's awesome.
I know. I'm obsessed with that.
We love Soupy.
We love it. So yeah, like I said, they have 6 albums. The Upsides is their second full-length album, and it actually hit the Billboard charts in multiple spots when it came out, which is very impressive. Again, because they're not like a huge mainstream band, but I thought that was pretty cool.
Okay, so since you're a major fan, what are your favorite songs?
Okay, I have my list here. It's funny, most of the songs on my list are from all different albums. So my favorite song of all time is The Devil in My Bloodstream, which is kind of a softer song, but I kind of think we should put that on our playlist.
Sure.
I love it. It's softer, but then it hits hard like midway through. There, It's Never Sunny in South Philadelphia, Woke Up Older, and I Won't Say the Lord's Prayer. I Won't Say the Lord's Prayer is like one of their most underrated songs. It's about like they grew up in a very Christian area, and so they're talking about like just how they were judged and how the brainwashing of religion, and it's a great song. What do you like? What songs do you like?
So first and foremost, the Wonder Years are amazing. Like for real being at your favorite band, it's for a reason. They are a great band. So if you have not listened to them before, I definitely just recommend checking them out. I don't have a huge attachment as you do, and that's okay. But every song that I discovered by them is really great. I have nothing bad to say about them, surprisingly. And I only just you laughed. It was a late laugh.
I just registered what you said because it's so true.
But I hate to admit this to you, but I really just only discovered them in the past couple of years, and you've known them forever. And
what?
Yeah, I know. So it's okay. I'm on board now. That's all that matters.
Okay.
So right. I personally really love There as well, and Out on My Feet, and I Just Want to Sell at My Funeral. For some reason, all those songs really resonate with me. And I agree, this is another one of those bands that give you the pop punk feels. There's just something about their vocals that make you want to just nod your head as you listen to it, throw on a leather jacket, throw the middle finger up, and get on the motorcycle and go away. You know?
Yep. Oh yeah. Trust
That's
me.
Just the vibe.
I know. That's the vibe. I just didn't know. Okay, it's okay. As long as you know them now.
I know them happy.
Now. I've seen them live a lot. I discovered them in 2012, and one of the guys I was dating, or the guy I was dating at the time, kind of showed me about pop punk, and I was 20. I had just moved away for college, and like all my friends were still living in town, so I kind of thought I was like cool, and I've seen them probably 15 times. I just saw them in February after some really tough stuff had happened, and I just kind of like was in the front row just screaming, and it was so therapeutic for me, like, because especially with COVID, I hadn't been to a concert in a really long time, so I just like, I was like, Soupy, you were gonna get all of my aggression right now.
And you know that's what it's about. That's what these bands want it to be about. They want you to get it all out, get the aggression out, and just kind of like vibe with them.
Yeah, for sure. So the Wonder Years, I'm always going to have great things to say about them. They're a tier 1 in my heart, but we did rate them a tier 2. We'll see what happens
at the end.
Later. Yep. This next band I'll let Jenna kind of go over, but this is a classic.
It's a classic. So for those of you who are like, yeah, Blink-182 is a classic pop punk band, some of you may have also said Sum 41 right away in your head, and that's on our list as well. So Sum 41 was initially rated a 2. I know that seems pretty low, and maybe they're a tier 1, but we just really weren't sure what to do with them. Could be we're just biased. And they're an older band too, so maybe that's another reason. And then they've had 24 singles, 7 albums. So 24 singles and 7 albums. That means they had at least like 5 singles on each album. Like each album, half of it was like their singles.
Yes.
And then they have 7 million listeners on Spotify, which is more than I thought it would be. And then only 623,000 followers on Instagram. So still not bad.
That is a lot more. The 7 million, that's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. So they're a Canadian rock band, which I did not know they were from Canada, but now it kind of all makes sense. It makes sense. I don't know why, but it just does.
It does.
So I was doing a bit of research, and maybe I got this wrong, but their single "Screaming Bloody Murder" and that on that album was the band's lowest charting effort since their debut. So that was after their frontman announced serious health issues that sidelined the band in 2016. So maybe we can't fault them for having that low charting album. What do you think about that, Katie?
Wow. So that was like, okay, so that was a couple. I guess it makes sense because all their hits were kind of before that.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that they still tried,
Yeah.
but it kind of makes sense that like with the health issues and then just like kind of music moves in a different direction now. So that makes sense, but I bet that was still kind of sad.
I mean, but they have been around for a really long time. So it's great they still want to be rocking and, being pop punk, but, you only produce so many hits, right?
For sure. And this band they have a lot of hits. Like
they do.
A lot of their songs, like anyone could recognize them, whether you were a rocker or like a jock or any type of person in high school knew some of these songs.
Okay, wait, can I just talk about something funny too? So so they are obviously an amazing band, but what makes them even more amazing is their album covers. Did you look at their album covers?
No.
They're hilarious to me. Every single one. Every single album cover to me like screams like they do not care. They're just so funny to me. Like it's like all like lime green and like
I just
weird
found
colors.
this one.
Yeah.
This guy looks like he's like from Insane Clown Posse or something. Yeah.
They do not care.
No, they have not cared. And that's kind of like I don't want to say this, but it's kind of like they're one of those bands that have a lot of really big hits, but then you couldn't really listen to the album cover to cover. Does that make sense?
Yes,
like,
I agree.
I have no musical talent whatsoever. I'm going to put that out there right now. I'm not sure how talented this band is. Obviously, they know how to write some big hits, but would I ever listen to, their album All Killer No Filler cover to cover? I don't know. Maybe I should, because maybe I'm wrong.
I tried. I'm not gonna lie, I tried to listen to a whole album and I really couldn't get into it. But there are some songs that I pulled out, and I'm sure everyone knows this classic, Still Waiting. That's definitely, I know. I'm embarrassed of how many times I have screamed lyrics to that song in a car.
It's so good.
Yeah. What are some songs that you like?
In Too Deep. I know that's one that you like too. It's just so like, it's kind of chill. Faster we're falling. I like With Me, and I also like Underclass Hero, and of course Fat Lip. I mean, but
yeah, I noticed that Underclass Hero gave me Blink-182 vibes. What do you think about that?
Yes, no, they are definitely, that was definitely kind of more of their like pure pop punk genre. Yeah, and so I know you were saying about their song Screaming Bloody Murder that was very low charting. They're kind of still kicking. I thought this was interesting. In February of this year, they announced that they're going on tour with Simple Plan.
Like a comeback tour.
Yeah, it's called Blame Canada, and I'm assuming that means
okay,
Simple
that's
Plan
hilarious.
is from Canada too.
Okay, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and then a month later in March, they announced that they were putting their next album out.
Oh.
And it's going to be a double album. So it's called Heaven and Hell. The Heaven side is going to be very pop punk, kind of like their early material, while the Hell side is going to be kind of like their evolution of more of like a heavier metal sound, which I thought that was a really cool idea.
Okay, I'll have to actually give that a listen.
So, yeah, I don't know if it's out yet, but once it's out, we'll definitely have to do a revisit because that sounds pretty awesome.
I like the concept of that. All right, maybe they're coming back.
We'll see.
Coming back. They're experts now in the field. They know what they're doing.
That's true. They're like, we've produced hits before. We can do it again.
Seasoned.
They're seasoned.
Speaking of seasoned, the next band on our list is Zebrahead. Talk about a seasoned band. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
This band has been around for a hot minute. So we initially gave them a rating of a 2. They have 38 singles, 13 albums, and 1.3 monthly listeners on Spotify. That's insane. 1.3 million?
Is that low?
I mean, it's low, but like for a band that's not really relevant anymore, that's still pretty high.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
true.
35.2 thousand Instagram followers. But yeah, no, that's a lot. So
that is a lot. They have been around for a hot minute.
So I discovered this band in high school, and they've been around way before I even got into high school. A friend of mine introduced this band to me, and then the rest is obviously history. They're kind of just ingrained with me now. In high school, I remember listening to Rescue Me and Hello Tomorrow quite frequently. Essentially, the entire album, MFZB, is so fire to me. I can't believe that. Okay, so they've been around since 1996. I was 5 years old.
That's insane. And like I knew about this band, but I didn't know about them like you did.
Yeah.
So after researching them, I'm like, oh, they've been around for a hot minute.
Yeah, like my parents were probably listening to this band.
I guarantee that they were.
Or at least knew who they were. They had to have.
I remember when we were kind of like putting bands in our thing and prepping for this episode, and you were like, no, Zebrahead would be a really good fit. And I thought you were talking about Motorhead, which is like a like metal, like grunge, and I was like, Jenna, I think you're off pace here. And then you showed me Rescue Me, and I was like, oh yeah, I know this song. And then I was like, oh, they totally fit with the pop punk vibes.
They're veterans in the pop punk world, as you would say. And I wish I could see them live, honestly, but I think the chances of that are pretty slim. And they've changed the vocalist, and I don't like that.
Oh, they really? Oh man. What are some of your favorite songs?
So obviously Hello Tomorrow, and I think it's an absolute must, so we're gonna put that on the playlist for sure for anyone out there to check out. And then Rescue Me, Over the Edge, The Real Me, Feel This Way, Playmate of the Year, Now or Never, an Anthem. No, not a fan at all.
All right, you guys have a lot of listening to do now. Honestly, like, so after I agreed with you that this band fits, I started listening to a little bit of every one of their albums, and one thing I really liked about them is that all of their albums kind of fall into that pop punk vibe, but they each have a different kind of feel. So there was one that had horns. It was very like ska-like, which I love ska. That could be another episode that we do in the future. And then one was pretty like hardcore, but still pop punk. And I really love the idea that I love bands that have been around for a really long time and like they evolve, like or just even that they try something new. They're like, oh, I really like horns. Let's see how this sounds. And then one album kind of has more of a ska vibe, and then they go back to pop punk, and I just think that's really cool.
Like playing around with the sounds and stuff.
Yes. One of the songs that I really liked that had more of a ska vibe was called Anthem. So if you guys are interested, check that out. I also like Enemy, Rescue Me, and Into You. And Rescue Me and Into You were apparently on my liked songs list on Spotify.
So you did know.
And I remembered them when I started listening, but I was like, oh, okay. But you know how last episode, like, I showed you the Kooks and now you love them? This is kind of...
This is one of those bands for you?
Yeah, like I've been listening to them since we've researched them, so...
Aww.
Thank you for showing them to me.
You're welcome. That's what the podcast is all about. If anything else, we're introducing new music to each other.
That's very true. Very true. This next band is a band that we both know.
Yes, or at least everybody in the world knows.
Yes. Very true. This band might be a little controversial, but we'll talk about that in a second. I'm getting ahead of myself. Controversial. This band is The Offspring. Okay. Initially, they were rated a tier 1. 34 singles, 10 albums, which had sold over 40 million records worldwide.
That's
a lot. I just had to put that in there. That's crazy. They have 13 million monthly listeners on Spotify, and then they have almost 1 million Instagram listeners.
So if you compare them to Zebrahead, they have 10 times more monthly listeners than they do. 10 times.
That's insane.
At least.
Yeah. So the reason I said this one might be a little controversial is because their sound has changed so much, and a lot of their... This band, I would say, is definitely more kind of what you were saying earlier in the punk aspect of pop punk. But if you look them up, their second or third genre falls under pop punk, and a lot of their songs do fall under pop punk. But like the two songs that come to my mind, there's actually a lot, but like I think two of their biggest hits would be The Kids Aren't All Right and then which is very like pop punk kind of like, you know, and then You're Gonna Go Far Kid, which kind of was a different feel. So all I'm saying basically is that this band is not pure pop punk. They experiment with a lot of different styles, which I think you kind of have to do to stay relevant for so long.
Right. Now I have You're Gonna Go Far Kid stuck in my head.
I know.
I'm just like singing the lyrics as we're like.
I know. They have had quite a few hits that are still played on the radio, and not just on like alt radio. Like some of these songs are played on like the hit stations.
Yeah.
You're Gonna Go Far Kid, Kids Aren't Alright, Pretty Fly for a White Guy. Obviously, that's like a classic.
Yeah.
Why Don't You Get a Job? I love that one.
Me too.
Yeah. But what do you think about that? Like, do you think they're like, what do you think about their genre?
I think they started off as pop punk, and I think because they've been around for a really long time, like I think they've been around since 1980s, their sound's gonna change. I mean, they've matured as artists, as a band, and you can only be pop punk for so long, I think, because I'm not saying it's not just a phase, but they definitely have they probably have their dads, their husbands, they have kids. I mean, you know, they've had to change with the way the generations have going. They've had to cater to different things, the radio, and I feel like that's maybe why it's changed so much.
I think you're right, and yeah, they have. I mean, they've stayed relevant for a really long time. So, but I do think overall they are a little bit more punk than like some of the bands. Actually, I think the next one we're going to be talking about is a little bit more pop in the pop punk, and this one is kind of more, it's like pop is like font 10 and punk is font like 14, you know what I mean?
Well, and I think they're only considered pop because they're mainstream.
That's a great, interesting thought.
So
yes. So this band is also like often credited in, along with like Green Day and Rancid, for kind of reviving like mainstream interest in the idea of like punk rock. So this band was one of the bands that kind of helped this genre become a little bit more like widely accepted, I would say.
So essentially legends.
Essentially. Yes. And there's a lot of artists that kind of like, there's a lot of current day artists that say that the Offspring really like helped and influenced them. Avril Lavigne was going on about them, and when I was researching for like a hot minute, and I was like, okay, we love that. And also Simple Plan, they were like, the Offspring is like my biggest inspiration. So I bet it's so cool for a band to like create their own sound based off of their inspirations, and then 20 years later they become the inspiration for other bands.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
I think that's so cool.
I agree.
I think both of us can agree that when we were researching this band, there were so many songs that we were like, oh my God, I love this song. Oh my God, I love this song. Like,
well, they're just songs you knew and loved. So I feel like for me, and I don't know for anyone else, but The Offspring was kind of like your part of your toolkit to be cool. Am I wrong about that? Like, if you didn't like The Offspring, you weren't cool.
Agreed completely.
And I don't know where they came from. Like, I made a joke on here saying that like they just appeared on my iTunes one day. Like, I don't know how I found them. I don't know who introduced me to them. They just were, you had to know them. Maybe it was the radio. I don't know.
Agree completely.
But so, you know, they have a lot of hit songs in their mainstream. And it's okay if they have a lot of mainstream songs. It means they did it right.
For sure, for sure. Some of the songs that I like, obviously all those ones that I mentioned earlier, they're hits, but I would say these songs I'm about to list are still hits, but I don't know, there's just so many. Self-Esteem, oh my God, amazing.
I love that song, yeah.
Want You Bad,
yes.
Come Out and Play,
yes.
And then, dude, Gone Away.
Okay, Gone Away, are you kidding? I'm putting that on our list. That's okay. Like a must.
Please, it's so good.
It's such a good song. Also, The Kids Aren't Alright, You're Gonna Go Far Kid are obviously, I mean, they're my favorites too. Why Don't You Get a Job, and then Like You, Come Out and Play, and Want You Bad too was like my favorite.
So good.
Yeah.
I haven't tried listening to a full album of them, but I wonder if they have the same effect as Sum 41, or if they maybe that should be our homework, is to pick an album of The Offspring and just listen to the whole thing.
Okay.
And kind of see the vibe.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe jump on my skateboard and listen to the whole thing.
Do you still have your skateboard?
No, are you kidding? That's a whole other story.
Oh, I know. I have a skateboard story too.
Don't we all?
All right. Should we take a quick break before we jump into our next band?
Yes, we should.
All right.
Okay.
All right. We are back from our break. We're back. And we have just gone over 5 bands, and we've got 5 more. So let's just jump right into it.
Okay.
Kind of like I alluded to with The Offspring, they're a little bit more punk than pop. Some of these next bands, specifically this one, I would say is a little bit more on the pop side, but still very pop punk. When we were looking at our list, I just thought this band fit really perfectly. And okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I always do this. Okay, the band is Meet Me at the Altar. They were initially a tier 3 when we rated them.
And it's a band we saw at Next Big Thing, I think, right? Or was it? Yeah. Where did we see them? Next Big Thing, right? I'm not crazy.
Did we?
Yes.
Huh.
You know what? We can be fact checked, but I'm pretty sure we did.
Yeah. Well, we'll do a revisit on that one. They have 5 singles and 3 albums. They have 114,000 monthly listeners on Spotify and about 75,000 followers on Instagram. Still
pretty new to the game.
They're very new to the game, which is one reason why I love them. They started in 2015, like they all kind of came together as friends in 2015, but they didn't release anything until 2017. So looking at all the bands that we've kind of talked about so far that have been around since
1980s, 1990s.
Yeah, but like, you know what I mean? Even like the Wonder Years, like early 2000s, like this band just started releasing music like 5 years ago. So the fact that they're very pop punk, like even though pop punk isn't super popular anymore, I love that they were like, no, this is the sound that we love and we're going for it. So this band has 3 members. They are all female, and they recorded their first album remotely because they all lived in different states. They have a drummer, a guitarist, and a lead singer, all ladies, all awesome. They all live in Florida now, which is pretty cool. And they don't do this full time. One of them has a full-time day job. One of them's in college, but they still come around to make music, which is amazing.
I love that so much. But you remember seeing them, right?
I do. Now that you say that, I do.
Okay, I had to double check. I'm like, we saw them live.
We've been to yeah. We've been to so many concerts that I guess like if it's a band that I wasn't there to see, I don't think I remember as much.
Well, they stuck around in my head.
All right. Well, give me your thoughts.
Okay. Well, I really love that this band is part of the list. It's really refreshing to see that pop punk's not dead anymore, and it's coming from a female perspective, which is kind of cool. They're making a comeback with that. Because pop punk is usually dominated by male vocalists, as you would typically see on this list, or just even going on Spotify and clicking a playlist. Like, it's pretty hard to find a female lead singer, let alone a whole female band, that are just so edgy.
They are edgy,
very edgy. The lead singer, Edith, has such a beautiful voice. I'm obsessed with it. It's fun. It's like it's young. It's refreshing. I don't even know how to explain it. But
it's like feminine.
Yes.
Like it's very, yeah.
Yes, but also not like soft feminine. Like she's like, I'm gonna kick your butt feminine.
For sure.
And have you seen what her look is? Her look is a vibe.
I think her look is like what we both secretly wish we could look like.
I wish I could look like her. But I have a corporate day job and I sit in my remote office every day.
Maybe in our past life we're like Edith.
Maybe. She is younger than I am, so. For
sure. But yeah, I love that, again, that they're all female, and I love that they're just doing what they want to do. I was reading an interview with Rolling Stone magazine, and the magazine said that they were kind of jump-starting a new era for pop punk. Okay. So I thought that was really, because when people think of pop punk, to me, they think of like an old genre. Like there's not, even if you listen to the alternative stations now, all the bands that are played on the radio fit into the new, like, kind of what we were talking about last week with like pop rock with synthesizers and, you know what I mean? Kind of like those just different kinds of sounds. So the idea that a new band is producing and this band has a pure pop punk sound.
Yeah.
Like they're fast and they hit hard.
Exactly. Speaking of like that hitting hard, their song "Hit Like a Girl," they have a breakdown. If anyone wants to listen to it, it's around 2:49. It's pretty sick.
That song is amazing.
Yes.
It's awesome. That's definitely one of my favorites. Some of the other ones that I like are Tyranny.
Okay.
Garden
I love
is
Garden.
really good.
I'm putting Garden as one of our playlist songs.
Okay. Garden also has an acoustic version, which is really good. Okay. Check that out. And then Brighter Days Are Before Us. Those were the ones that I really liked.
I think that's their main single that they're promoting right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
And speaking of pop punk legends, did you see that they're going to be touring with Green Day, or I think they are currently touring with them?
Oh my God. Imagine like being a fan of pop punk and then getting Green Day. Green Day, like asking to tour with you.
That's amazing. I'm sure they're like their openers, but like still, that's amazing.
No, that's so cool. So I think overall this band is awesome. I love their sound. It's very purely pop punk, but it's really cool because it's like in this day and age. So definitely give them a listen, especially all you lady listeners out there, because hey, sometimes we know how to do it.
Sometimes we hit like a girl. We
do. All right, Jenna, this next band
is the band of the hour. You know, it's the band of the... You remember our first episode? It was My Chem. Well, Blink-182 took the cake on this one.
For sure. I think they're the new My Chem.
They are the new My Chem for this episode. So obviously we gave them initial rating as a 1. They have 24 singles, and then I put 6 promotional singles. It was kind of hard to gauge. They have 8 albums, 1 live and 2 compilation, and then 13.5 million listeners a month and 2.1 million followers on Instagram, which I think is the most followers out of all the bands so far.
I think so too, for sure.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
And I think this could definitely, there's a lot of information that we're missing, just to give you guys a heads up. So I think we'll have to eventually do like a revisit or like a part 2 for Blink-182, because God,
there's so
we
much.
spent hours looking them up.
I mean, there's so much to find. I mean, just Blink-182 is definitely just a big band, so there's a lot of information out there, so we didn't capture it all. But Katie, like, talk about what you think of Blink-182.
For sure. So as I kind of alluded to in the beginning, this band is the first one that comes to mind when we think of pop punk. I've always really liked this band, and I think this reason is so silly, but because they only have 3 members, before this, all the bands that I knew were like 4 or 5 pieces, and so to hear the amazing sounds that they created with just 3 people, I thought that was so cool. Like, I was just like, and all of the members are iconic. Well, the original,
the OG.
I know Tom isn't a part of it anymore, and we'll talk about that in a second, but Travis Barker is a drumming legend.
Still drumming.
Mark Hoppus, legend. Yes, Travis Barker still drumming. And then, of course, Tom DeLonge was their vocalist for a very long time. And one thing I mean, I love Blink-182 so much, but their music has also kind of evolved. You kind of watch them grow up through their albums, which I think that's kind of why we connected with them so much.
I agree.
Yeah. So let me see here.
So speaking of the iconic OG members, isn't it weird that Travis is married to Courtney? Like, speaking of people who've been around for a really long time, not to age Courtney, but I mean, she's been around for a minute.
She has.
Isn't it kind of funny they're just kind of married now? Like, who did you ever think in high school listening to Blink-182 that Travis was going to marry Courtney?
Never in my life, but now that I've watched, this is one of my guilty pleasures, is I watched the Kardashians, the new one on Hulu. And he literally has like a matcha station in his kitchen that he is a vegan. He has like all herbal teas in the morning. Like, he's very soft spoken. And it's so funny because growing up listening to Blink-182, I would not have imagined that he was like that. But they kind of work, and it's really interesting.
Hey, it is what it is. So for me, I have a different memory of Blink-182, I guess you would say. For most people listen to the albums that were like, you're saying like the fun, edgy, like the ones in the earlier albums, like you're like the toilet humor ones, whatever. But for me, it was the Blink-182 like not titled album. When
Untitled.
Untitled. Like it was just that was like the lime green, not the lime green, like the blue and pink, and then just the other logo. Okay, so I'm gonna give you like a background. I was in middle school. It was growing up in Minnesota, and I owned a skateboard, and I wore the studded belts and the hot pink shirts and straightened my hair to look like Avril Lavigne. And I begged my mom to get the Blink-182 CD, and that CD changed my life. No, you laugh, but it changed everything about me. Besides the Killers, which is a whole nother thing, and besides My Chemical Romance, like, you know how like the song Helena awakened the inner goth in me? Well, this album was a personality trait that I believe I still carry with me today.
I kind of understand what you mean, because I think like in middle school, and I didn't know you in middle school, but from what I remember and what I have heard is like you were a little bit more preppy.
Yes.
And then something happened and you kind of became a little bit more.
All of a sudden I was wearing Hollister and the puka shell necklaces. And the next day I was wearing all Zoomies outfits from the Zoomie and like PacSun. Like you could.
The next day.
You could not catch me without wearing a pair of Vans that were checkered and a studded belt. And that was like my personality.
That's like from a movie. Like the next day the girl comes to school and it's just like completely different.
Blink-182 changed my life. I promise you.
I believe
when
you.
you think of Blink-182, you think of skate parks, you think of the jelly bracelets, you think of studded belts, you think of their music videos. You remember their iconic Feeling This video? Like they're just kind of like just singing out in the public, all people are like out in like the ground like dancing. And then you think of I Miss You. Like that song is still relevant today.
Oh, for sure.
I can sing every part of that song without missing a beat, and you know I can't sing songs well.
I was going to say, for those of you that don't know, like I can sing any lyric anytime. I can hear the song once. Jenna
cannot.
God love her, but this is the one song she can claim, and we're going to give it to her.
We're going to give it to me.
Yeah.
So
I love that you kind of discovered them later, and not even later, right? Because they're still coming. But
was not. It was like I discovered their album later than other people, maybe, but you know,
for sure. Well, yeah. So I kind of have liked them. I liked them before that. I love their. One thing about me is I like really raunchy type of music and songs, and so I love their toilet humor. I love their like angstiness of their old albums. I want to kind of touch on the evolution of the band. So they've been around for a very long time. Tom DeLonge, their iconic lead singer, left the band in 2015 to pursue his company, which their sole mission is to find UFOs.
I love that. That actually makes sense.
Which, that's kind of a vibe. It's like, you do you, you know?
Yeah.
And I just realized this like a year ago, and I remember when I realized it, I thought it was crazy. He was replaced by Matt Skiba, who is the lead singer of Alkaline Trio.
I did not know that.
So Matt Skiba is in Alkaline Trio and Blink-182.
So that's pretty cool.
Which I thought that was really cool. Yeah. So from what I've seen in interviews and like just kind of following Travis Barker now because I'm crazy, I don't think that he or Mark talk to Tom anymore, which is really sad. But I think they still have fond memories. Obviously, they spent so much of their time together. And
I want to get back to the Tom thing. So has he found a UFO yet?
I'm not sure. We should
follow up on that. Revisit.
We should. Yeah, we'll do a revisit. I love that. Yeah, so they released one album with Matt in I think 2019, and then they were supposed to release a single in 2021 with Juice WRLD, which is a really random rapper. No,
you know, I was gonna think maybe because it's like Travis and like Kylie. Maybe it's not so random after all.
That's true. Well, yeah, Travis Barker does have like a producing company now where he does work with a lot of rappers, so maybe, but they haven't really done much recently. Didn't you say that they did an album?
They did, no.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't you?
Not an album, but a song, and I don't recommend it. Normally, I wouldn't say this on this podcast. We're supposed to promote like a healthy music environment, yeah, I would not recommend their 2020 song about quarantine.
Do not listen to the song Quarantine.
It was not good.
Not good.
But let's talk about what was good. What were your favorite songs?
Yes. Yeah, I only listed a couple because there's literally so many. The entire Take Off Your Pants and Jacket album is amazing. The entire Untitled album is amazing, but Shut Up is my favorite song of all time. If you haven't listened to it, it just pumps me up. Shut Up. Apple Shampoo, I really like Down, and I really like Feeling This. But Blink-182 is one of those bands that I can just kind of put on the This Is Blink-182 playlist on Spotify, and I'm just like excited about every song. But what songs did you like?
So, of course, I like the entire Blink-182 Untitled album. It goes without saying. Particularly Stockholm Syndrome, I Miss You, classic. Feeling This, classic. Always classic. Down, classic. But I always down. No. Wait, if I say it in a row, Feeling This, always down.
Yeah, same.
Aliens Exist. That makes sense now that I think about that. That little UFO side venture that he has. Damn It, The Rock Show, and First Date. So as you can see, I really liked a lot of their singles, and that's okay.
For sure. One thing that Jen and I also both agree on is their album 2016,
yes.
California. We love that album.
I actually was really happy when that came out, and I remember I told people it was good. People were like, no. And I was like, well, then you're wrong.
Yeah. Bored to Death and She's Out of Her Mind are amazing
They are
songs.
amazing. If you at least haven't heard those two new songs, you should now, because I think they were pretty good.
Yeah. Well, they're not new anymore. That was about 6 years ago.
But it was new then.
True. Very true. So I think we have definitely some unanswered questions about Blink. Has Tom found a UFO? I think there's a lot to kind of unpack there, so we'll definitely have to revisit.
Will Travis be married to Courtney forever?
Yeah, who knows?
Will their songs get better? Oh.
That's probably a no.
It's probably a no. We're going to keep Blink-182 in a time capsule. Capsule. I cannot talk today.
Capsule.
We're going to put them in a little capsule, and we're just going to hold them tightly as they were back in the day. We loved them who they used to be. Do you know that saying? Sure. I miss the old Kanye. I miss the old Blink-182.
I do know that saying. So as we said, there is a lot to unpack here with Blink-182. Before we move on to our next band, as we mentioned initially in this episode, we did our first interview for this episode.
Yay!
And we're very excited. It's one of our very dear friends, Marnie Stronk. We've known her about as long as we've known each other. And everyone kind of has that band that's their personality trait. Right. Blink-182 was 100% her personality trait in high school. So we spent a couple minutes talking to her about why she likes it, and so we're going to play that right here.
All right. We are so excited because we have our first interview today.
Yes, we do. And who is our guest today, Katie?
Our guest is Marnie Stronk. She is one of our best friends in the entire world.
I believe. Hey, Marnie. I believe our friendship is going on, well, for me, since 10th grade. How long for you, Katie?
9th grade. So that was 2005.
We're not going to age ourselves.
No.
But it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. It was 17 years ago that I met Marnie. Wait, is that right, Marnie? No.
No.
I'm trying not to age us. Hold on.
I'm 30. It's 2022 and we met in 2005.
Are you sure you want this recorded?
Yes. I am. That's 17 years.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That is more than that's more than half of my lifespan.
I know. That's insane.
So it's clear to say that we know Marnie pretty well.
Pretty well. Marnie, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
Well, thank you for having me, and being the first guest is kind of nerve-wracking, but I'm really excited. So thank you for trusting me to be on your podcast.
Everyone else should be nervous because they have to follow you.
Very true.
They should be. I understand. So good
Very
luck
true.
to all of you. I'm good. I'm having a great day today. So I'm so excited for this opportunity to talk to you guys.
Awesome.
So when we started kind of thinking about this podcast, obviously the genre is pop punk. As we mentioned earlier in the show, the first band that came to both Jenna and I's mind is Blink-182. And then the first person that always comes to our mind when we think of Blink-182 is Marnie. So Jenna was like, let's get her on and let's kind of talk to her just about her experiences, why she loves them so much. I think that kind of like in high school and college, everybody, at least in our friend group, kind of had a band that like defined them. And I mean, mine is still kind of Weezer. I think like anytime anyone thinks of Weezer, they think of me, but Blink-182 was like Marnie for me, like 100%.
Yes, I 100% agree. Actually, so this year for school, I'm a teacher, and we dress up for Halloween every year. We dressed up as our high school selves. So I actually did wear a Blink-182 shirt.
That's amazing.
It was great. And
That's
then,
awesome. You still have one.
Oh, no. I had to buy
Oh, you had to buy it. Oh. Okay, well now you have it.
Now I have it, so it's fine.
So Marnie,
okay. Go ahead.
Okay. What initially kind of like drew you to Blink-182? Like, why do you think that you liked them so much? Like when you first found out about them?
Well, so I started liking them in high school, and I heard First Date from Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. And I was like, okay, I really like this song a lot. And then I started listening to the album, and I was just like, oh, this is great. And then the more I researched them, the more I was like really into their music. And it really started me to like pop punk music. It really like initiated that for me.
Do you feel like, oh, go ahead, Jenna.
Okay. Do you feel like it was a personality trait at that point when you started listening to them?
Oh, for sure. I definitely feel like I was a pop punk kid. Like I even dressed the part. Like I had like
so did.
I 100% did. I had band t-shirts and, skater shoes, and my hair was red, and I had an eyebrow ring, and my eyeliner was as thick as my eye was. So, I definitely think it was a personality trait. So like when people like realized that was my favorite band, they weren't really surprised, because they were like,
it just made sense.
She looks like she would listen to Blink-182 with the studded belt. You have to have the studded belt.
Yes. And not only Blink-182, but we have other bands on the list. Were you a fan of any other pop punk bands?
So yes, at that time, I really enjoyed pop punk in general. So I liked Green Day, Sum 41. Some of them, I don't know if I would like put in pop punk, but these were just like things that I was listening to at the time, like Simple Plan, Good Charlotte, Fall Out Boy, things like that. Those are a lot of bands that I was listening to at that time.
Yep.
Sure.
Sounds like pop punk to me.
A mix of a little bit of emo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you remember, or do you still have like some favorite songs that besides First Date that you really enjoy?
Oh, absolutely. So, I really like, Apple Shampoo. It wasn't like a big song, but I really liked that. I liked Damn It also. And honestly, the whole album, like Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, I loved it. Like I could listen to it on repeat. Roller Coaster, I really liked too. That was one of my favorites from that album.
Could you still listen to that album again now and know every single lyric?
Yeah. It's been ingrained in my memory for so long that I don't think it can leave.
Dude, Reckless Abandon is on that album.
Oh my gosh,
That's-
that song
that's a
is so
banger.
good. That is a really good one. And then it also, they had those Anthem Part 2 and stuff like
Mhm.
that, where I'm just like sad crying in my room. And I'm like, oh, this makes me feel better.
Yep. Who is your favorite member? I think I already know the answer, but
Oh, well, my favorite member is Tom DeLonge. And
Rocker.
I was, yeah, right. Imagine that. I was in love with Tom DeLonge. So like I was absolutely obsessed with him. I thought he was God's gift to earth.
Yeah, he was like the epitome of like what you wanted in like a man at that time. Like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
loved him.
I did love him. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So speaking of loving him, I may have heard that you met him. And if that's true, tell me about your experience.
Yes. So when I started liking Blink-182, unfortunately, I got in the game a little late. So they were already broken up. So I was really, yeah, I know. So I was like, oh, well, that doesn't really work. So Tom started a new band called Angels and Airwaves.
Mm-hmm.
So
I remember that.
Yes. So I went to go see them actually with Katie. And there was a couple other bands that we went to see, and we ended up getting backstage somehow. And so I met him, and
So wait, somehow explain this somehow.
So my stepbrother at the time sat by like the door of like the backstage and like just kept asking if we could get in. And then finally, I think they just like let him in. And then he took me and Katie with him. And
I personally don't think that would happen now.
No, there's no way. I don't even know how that happened back then. Like,
wasn't it at like the backyard barbecue or something? Like it was at a pretty like, it wasn't like Warped Tour.
No, I think it was Warped Tour, but it was at I don't know if I just know it was at the like Tampa Arena thing, whatever, that not the one they play hockey, the other thing, like the amphitheater.
Okay.
It was there.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that too, because your stepbrother at the time, we also met Bert from the Used, and he was a huge Used fan. So that tracks for him to sit there all day and just die in the sun waiting to get in.
To hope for the best. So we went backstage, and I will never forget this. It's like ingrained in my memory. I saw him and I was so afraid to go up to him. So my stepbrother at the time, he goes up and he says, "Hey, my sister like really wants to meet you. Like, can you go say hi to her?" And I'm like, I was like, oh my gosh. So
can you imagine? Like, I'd be embarrassed.
You know what? Like, what is this? 15 years later, I'm kind of embarrassed, but hey, I still got to meet him. It's fine.
Exactly.
So he came up, and I went to like shake his hand because I was
so
like,
formal.
I know. I was like, and I'm pretty sure I said, "Hi, Mr. DeLong." I'm pretty sure I didn't even call him Tom. And I just like go to shake his hand, and he goes, "Come here and let me give you a hug." And I was like, oh my gosh. And then that was it.
What a guy.
What a guy. And then we got a picture taken, and I have never been so happy than I was at that picture. So
do you still have that photo?
It's somewhere on MySpace, and I can't get on MySpace. Sadly.
Oh, darn. If we could get our hands on that photo, I would love to share it on our Instagram.
I'm gonna
absolutely
try. I'm gonna
try.
Yeah,
it's out there somewhere.
It is. It's probably on your photo bucket, Marnie.
It is. Maybe I'll start
photo bucket.
I know, right?
Where Marnie loved photo bucket.
I remember.
I put all my photos on there. Oh goodness.
That's amazing. It's so funny, Jenna, when you said like that would never happen now. Like now we have to like, you have to pay like hundreds of dollars just to
Hundreds.
meet someone. Like life was so much simpler back then. Like you could just stand by a
Yeah.
gate and eventually somebody would let you in. Like that would never happen now.
No,
But
it's so
also
true.
it was that genre that time. It was those artists who kind of didn't care. They were kind of just go with the flow and they were just down to earth, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So maybe
I
it could have been the
agree.
music. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, well, that's really cool that I mean we got to see them after they broke up. I think they were doing was it like a reunion tour or
Yes, and you took me to see them, and I cried the whole time because I was so happy.
oh
It was it was great. I remember. I'm pretty sure you have a picture of that too, me just like crying.
I'm sure I do.
I'm sure we can find that somewhere.
I'm gonna
also.
find as many photos as I can and post them when this drops.
Oh, I love that.
Awesome. So overall, like how would you kind of say that Blink-182 influenced you during that part of your life? Like how did they kind of mold you into being who you are now?
So I think that they kind of molded me into who I am today because a lot of their songs like made sense to me. Like they had songs about being sad, and they had songs about like, you know, some of them were about like high school or like about like a girl or, you know, like kind of things that I was going through at the time. And I just was like, oh, that's really cool. Like they understand where I'm coming from. So I think that really helped me too. And just being able to like have somebody relate to me in like a music sense, I thought was really awesome.
Mm-hmm, for sure. I definitely feel the same way about them. But then I also love how like, and not really on Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, but some of the earlier albums, like they're also just kind of like silly, like toilet humor, like cursing. Like I love that they could do both. Like
They were like big kids.
Yeah.
Yes. Or like, you know, like even What's My Age Again? Like that song is like so relevant to them. And I love it. That is them. Like I feel like if any song defines them, that's definitely one of the songs that define them.
For sure. I love like the idea of nobody likes you when you're 23 and now like we're all 30 and I'm like nobody really likes us now. Like now now we're
23, 33, 43. What's the difference?
Yeah. Nobody likes us.
Nobody.
So now that we're in our 30s and we've kind of moved on, what part of your life did this band drop off for you? Do you remember that happening? Do you remember there was like a switch maybe where all of a sudden you woke up and Blink-182 was no longer relevant to you?
So I don't remember exactly like when it happened, but I know it was after high school. I was probably in college and my music taste started changing. And then I fell in love with an artist, and then I like put all my time and effort into that artist. So it's like when my music taste started like going more like away from pop punk and more into like pop is kind of when I noticed. So I would say like in like college at some point.
Okay. So like you grew up.
Yeah. Yeah. But I still love listening to all the songs. I that's not the first thing that I put on when I get in the car, but like if it shuffles in my car, I'm not going to skip it. I always listen to it. And there'll be moods that I'm in like a pop punk mood. And I even have like a playlist of songs that like when you're in the mood for it, you know what I mean? I feel like it's all about like when you're in the mood to listen to, you know, a certain type of music.
For sure.
Understand? Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Well, that's all the questions that we have for you, but do you have any questions for us? And not that you would, but I don't want it to feel like an interrogation.
This is like an interview.
It doesn't have to be.
You know
what? I revert back to my HR roots every time I get on a mic.
I see that because like normally you plan if you're going into an interview and you're like, oh, like I have questions planned, but look at you just like throwing me in it. No, like I just want to really thank you guys for trusting me and like letting me be your first person to interview on here. I'm really glad I got to talk about Blink-182 and pop punk. And actually, like when I get off here, I'll probably go listen to them because now I'm in the mood. So
you're inspired.
I am inspired. So
you should. I'm not going to say it right now because we at this point we won't have talked about this band yet, but there's 2 bands and songs that we're going to talk about later. I'm going to text them to you, Marnie, so you can listen to them because they're going to blow your mind. Like, they're like old classics that you'll remember.
Oh, I'm excited.
And I think, Jenna, we can put First Date in our Spotify playlist because I think it counts as like one of those songs that's just really important. It was really important to Marnie.
I agree.
Oh, thanks, guys.
We'll put that in our playlist for you. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break and we will come back with our next band.
Bye, Marnie.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so that is the end of our interview with Marnie. We're back on track with our bands. Thank you again, Marnie, for participating in our podcast and being our first guest.
Yes, thank you so much, Marnie. Love you.
Love you. Okay, so up next is Tonight Alive. Maybe many of you don't know who they are. Honestly, I kind of forgot about them until we went back to this. So we initially gave them a rating of a 3. They have 17 singles, 4 albums, 669,000 monthly Spotify listeners, and 118 Instagram followers. They are an Australian rock band from Sydney. In 2018, their lead singer became a vocalist. So she wasn't originally a vocalist when the band started. And then the girl's name is Jenna. So pretty cool. My girl, Jenna.
We love her.
But the band started in 2008. So it took 8 years for her. No, 10 years. Sorry. It's late here. It's like 9:25 we're recording. Been a long day. It took a while for her to become a lead singer. So if you ever get to read about her story, it's pretty cool. But the day before her 16th birthday, she joined as that lead vocalist. So that's awesome, right?
That's really cool.
She was so young.
That's on my 16th birthday, I went to Auntie Anne's Pretzels to get a job.
So there's that.
So she's obviously better than me. I love that we've been able to put at least 2 bands in this episode that have female.
Yes, and she is the female lead with an all-male band, so I love that. She kicked butt.
We love that. Yeah.
So again, I can't believe I forgot about them. I mean, this female and a male-driven genre should not be hard to miss. I did read that this band was compared to Paramore quite a bit, and she just wrote that like it's okay. We can't please everybody. It's we're just gonna continue to make music that we like, and that's okay.
For sure.
But jokes on everyone else because they totally rock.
For sure. And I mean, I can see that just like based on their sound, but I also think that society has this weird thing of like, because Paramore was like the first pop punk band, then any, that has a female lead, that anyone that follows, it's like, oh, you're just trying to be like
You're
Paramore.
Comparing. But see, if you think about it, when you have male bands that do that, they're not comparing them. They get to be their own bands. So that,
I know.
That's kind of annoying.
It is. And well, I didn't mention it, but the Meet Me at the Altar, the band we just talked about, they also, a lot of people were comparing them to Paramore, and I'm like, they're pretty, there's 3 females.
It's
like
so different. Their sound is
so
different.
But I think that's just kind of, that's being a female. So
hit like a girl.
Hit like a girl.
So some of my favorite songs by this band, and honestly not limited to, this is one of the bands that I think you can listen to the entire album and actually be genuinely like happy with it. So Lonely Girl, World Away, Wasting Away, The Other Side, and then if anyone you didn't know about this band but you definitely knew Little Lion Man, their cover song, that was on the Punk Goes Pop album.
Oh, love it. I love that. Yeah. That's a great cover, and that's a great song. The 2 songs that really stuck out to me were also Wasting Away, Lonely Girl. But I think that one thing that we should do now is like make it like a test of like, is their full album good, or I think that's really cool. I think that this band would be one that you could listen to the full album and be pleased.
Exactly.
Keep on rocking, girls.
Okay, so the next band on the list is Man Overboard. Katie, I'm going to go over the ratings first, but I want you to talk about what you think about them first because I think you have more of a tie to them. But their initial rating is a 3. They have 12 singles, 4 albums, but I put /6 because I really couldn't tell online. And then 104.6 Spotify listeners and 28.3 Instagram followers.
Yep, and that's 1,000. So they do have more than 28 Instagram followers. They would be a tier 7.
Yes.
So as Jenna kind of alluded to, this is another band I feel like really falls into that 4 year strong Wonder Years. Actually, I'm pretty sure that Man Overboard toured with the Wonder Years once, and that's where I discovered Man Overboard.
Mm-hmm. I think they did too.
Yeah, it's just kind of another one of those bands that's very pop punk. Their motto is defend pop punk, and I'm still in this Facebook group that's called Defend Pop Punk.
Oh, that's awesome.
Where all the pop punk fans go and talk about pop punk, and I also had a shirt that said that. So this band definitely is the epitome of pop punk. They're a little bit more pop though. They're very upbeat, kind of just like fun to listen to.
Would you say it's like emo / pop punk?
I can see why you say that. Yeah, I can definitely see why you say that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely in what they talk about. And then they are a little bit more like upbeat than the Wonder Years. They have those higher sounds. And yeah, I think when I discovered them, I showed every single one of my friends the song Love Your Friends, Die Laughing. I remember just singing that in the car with everyone, and none of my friends really knew who this band was or really knew anything about them, but we all just started loving the song.
It's a great song, I'm not gonna lie.
It is. And I'm a little not disappointed, but I guess I thought they would have more listeners, but I think that one of my character flaws I'm learning through this podcast is that I thought that every band that I loved was also like really big or really universally loved by other people. Like I
love that you think that. That's
I
really
know.
optimistic of you.
I know, and like I think it's just because those are the bands that I was like privy to, and those are the bands that I was being exposed to. So I guess I thought that everyone else in the world was also being exposed to that. So when I see a band like Man Overboard that only has, 25,000 listener or Instagram followers, I'm like, man, that but I guess that's still pretty good.
I think I'm the opposite from you. I think I like thrive off people don't knowing the band. Like if you know the band, I'm mad.
No, that is true. Yeah, we are kind of opposite. And I guess for me, I just want like other people to, and because I wouldn't say this is a big band, but I guess I thought more people knew them. But yeah. So some of the songs I really like. Their first album is one of those albums that you can listen to cover to cover.
Yes, I agree.
Yep. Montrose is my favorite song by them. Real Talk. And then She's Got Her Own Man Now. That whole album, I know every word. And I think I kind of stopped listening after college to this band. So I really kind of only listened to that first album.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I pretty much like the same songs, but I think what I mostly knew them for was Love Your Friends and Die Laughing.
Yep, that's a classic. So yeah, they're a very good, just classic pop punk band, a little bit more upbeat than the Wonder Years, but I guess they're not very universally loved, which is why we rated them a 3.
Okay.
That's
What's the next band?
All right, our last band.
Next and last. A one-hit wonder.
I mean, yes.
The next album lover.
A one album wonder.
I said lover.
Say that 10 times fast. This next and last band is Plus 44. They were initially a tier 3. They had 5 singles, all off of one album. They had only one album. But somehow, they have 800,000 monthly Spotify listeners.
That's only the people who were listening to Blink-182 like, oh yeah, plus 44, and then went back to Blink.
I know, but That's what I'm saying. Man Overboard has 100,000 and Plus 44 has 800,000
with one album.
That makes no sense to me. As I was looking at this band, I don't know, and I know the whole timeline gets a little fishy with how this band. For those of you that don't know, this is kind of the spin-off band when Blink-182 broke up. Mark and Tom kind of were like Mark and Travis. Whoa.
Mark and Tom.
Mark and Travis were kind of like, we want to still make music, so they kind of went off and did their own thing after the breakup of Blink-182. It's kind of funny, the name of their band, Plus 44. I guess they were in the UK, and the Plus 44 is like the dialing code for like how to dial into the UK when you call. So that's why they called it that.
You
so
know, I did not know that this entire time.
I know, me either.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so this is a band that Mark and Travis started. They only released one album. I guess I don't know why I thought they released more than one, because I only can name you like 2 songs.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I just thought they were doing more, but
you were wrong.
I was wrong. Their mix is pretty like pop electronica, so they fit really well with this genre, I think. Yeah. They went on one tour with Fall Out Boy, and then Blink got back together in 2009. So makes sense why they never really got off the ground. In 2008, Travis Barker got into a really bad plane accident that left him having like 16 surgeries and made him not want to fly anymore. So that kind of put a kind of like a stop in a lot of their stuff, and then Blink got back together, and I think it probably just felt more comfortable for him. But fun fact, Kourtney Kardashian has gotten him to fly since then. So I guess
you'll do anything.
You'll do anything for love.
Yes, but I won't do that.
I won't do that. Let's see here.
Well, what were your favorite songs? I mean, there was one album, but what did you like?
When Your Heart Stops Beating, I think was like the big one that everyone liked. Little Death, and then I don't know how to say this. Lycanthrope. Okay. Yeah. What about you?
So I remember liking When Your Heart Stops Beating, but I think you forgot about Make You Smile.
Oh my God, I did.
Okay, that song was a banger.
I'm going to listen to that now. I totally forgot about that song.
If I had a on repeat list in high school, that was on my on repeat.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the A Day to Remember version means a lot to you, but this was Make You Smile. So like the same thing where it's like a guy and a girl verse, and so like you would have to sing both.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I do remember that now. Love that. But there's not many to choose from because there's only one album.
So you pick a couple.
Pick a couple. I was reading a interview with Travis, and he was kind of asked, like, you know, would Plus 44 ever reunite to play shows again? And he was kind of sharing how, like, after Blink-182 broke up, you know, him and Mark felt really confused and, you know, alone. And so putting out this album with Plus 44 really helped them kind of like rediscover their love for music and really helped them work through the death of Blink-182. But he's kind of saying like it kind of needs to stay there. Like it would dig up a lot of stuff if they played it again. So he wasn't against it. He's just kind of saying like Plus 44 is just kind of like a blip in my life that I'm kind of just good to leave there, if that makes sense.
Right. Like it was a good thing. We'll just leave it as a good thing. For sure.
Because sometimes like things just get beaten to death, and you know, it gets crazy. So I kind of love that we were able to throw them in there, because
me too.
Yeah, Travis Barker had 2 appearances on this podcast.
Popular guy lately.
He is popular guy. All right, we're gonna go ahead and take our last break, and when we come back, we will do our on repeat, and then we will give our final rankings.
Sounds good. Okay.
All right. We are back from our final break, and Before we get into our final rankings, as always, we're going to talk about our on repeat.
On repeats.
So for those of you that this is your first time listening, on repeat is when we each pick a song that's pretty close to the top of our on repeat playlist on Spotify, and we each listen to it and we give each other our feedback and kind of our thoughts.
It's not relevant to the genre either. It's just happen to be what we're listening to right now.
For sure. For sure.
Okay, I'll go first. So I showed Katie my on repeat earlier this week when we were driving, and I'm still kicking myself in the butt for not knowing about this band before. I don't know how I missed them throughout life, throughout any type of music, but the band that I'm talking about is none other than Mother Mother. Anyone listening out there know about this band? Let me know your thoughts, what you think of them. I just think they're such a unique and cool band. I mean, their sound is so fun. And the song that's on repeat for me this week is Ghosting. It's an old song. It's not new. This song is not like just like a new hit that came out. This song actually I think came out in 2016 or even later than that. Like, it's pretty old, but it came across my Discover Weekly. And it's about reminiscing on a relationship that ended pretty poorly. So at least that's what I think it means. It's an interesting song. It's good to sing to in the car. I'm not sick of it yet. So what do you think, Katie?
Yeah, I also, well, first of all, I don't think you should kick yourself because as you said earlier, your whole vibe is like having bands that nobody knows.
Yeah.
So we love that they have flown under the radar. But I never know what I'm gonna get with you. Like when you play a new song in the car, I'm always like making sure my seatbelt's on. I'm like, all right, what's going on here? But this song, I love the word interesting that you used. It's a very interesting song. But it just has like, I just really like it. It's just good vibes.
Yeah.
Like it's really fun to listen to. I'm literally obsessed with it. I don't know how we didn't know about them before. As I'm kind of just Googling it really quickly, there's like this Reddit post that people are like arguing about like what the meaning of the song is.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's like they're like, tell me your theory, and people are talking about like it's about ghosts, or it's about like someone's mom and like poltergeist, and I'm like, y'all are crazy. Like
it has nothing to do with what the song title is, and has nothing to do with the song lyrics. Like there's like, you ain't got no tricks or treats, and it ain't no Halloween, but like that's not what it's about. It's just about like the symbolism of ghosting, but not really ghosting in the modern sense either, because this song came out before the word ghosting was coined.
very true. I think maybe Mother started the term ghosting.
They could have.
We're gonna give them credit for that. But definitely you can check this song out on our playlist. It will be on there.
Yes.
And this song is amazing.
All right, what's your song, Katie?
All right, my song, and we're gonna give Jenna credit for this. This is a song that Jenna showed me a couple weeks ago. I hope you're not mad, but Jenna gets full credit. My on repeat song is called 1% Milk by Holy Wars. I know. When we were talking about pop punk, Jenna was like, oh, I wonder if this band kind of fits. And after some further investigation, we decided that they didn't fit really well. But since we looked them up, this song has been on repeat.
So they're like she, I think it's just her. She's like a dark pop vibe. I would say more like Lana Del Rey.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Mm-hmm. I remember because you showed me this song and you were like, I think this band would be great for pop punk. And in the beginning, it's kind of slower. And I was like, I don't know, Jenna. And then as soon as she says, what about the other 99?
What about the other 99?
Oh, it's so good. It just hits. And like, it's super good vibe, super high energy. Yeah. So is it just her?
Yeah, I think so. She may have like people playing for her, like the music, but it's just her.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Well, she's killing it. She is pretty low key and underground right now, but I think if she wants to, she will do pretty well in life.
I think she just produced an album, so I think she's just trying to get out there. But if anyone's listening, Holy Wars is amazing.
For sure. And they will also be on our playlist.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So
the moment of truth.
The moment of truth. Time to wrap it up. I know this episode is a little bit longer than usual. So I apologize for that. but
I
hope
do
you're
not.
still nope, we're not apologizing for that. Actually, we're glad you're still here.
They have to stick around to see our final ratings.
The final ratings. Katie, kick it off.
All right. So our first band that we talked about was 4 Years Strong.
Mm-hmm.
And they were initially rated a tier 2. And we have kept them a tier 2.
We did. The next band was the Wonder Years. They were initially a tier 2. And tier 2 across the board for both of us.
Tier 2, and that makes sense because their stats were very similar.
Mm-hmm.
The Wonder Years is kind of a tier 1 in my heart, but we don't go by hearts.
No,
so.
they go by numbers.
And kind of hearts, but not enough. All right, the next band is Sum 41. We initially rated them a tier 2, and after researching and kind of looking it up, we unanimously agreed that they deserve the tier 1 spot.
And I did not bully Katie into that.
No, it was unanimous. I think that we just didn't realize how many hits they had and how how popular they are.
Yes.
So they definitely are deserving of a tier 1.
Exactly. The next band is Zebrahead. Initially a tier 2 and then tier 2 across the board. Again, in my heart, I think they would be a 1 because of how seasoned they are, but they're a tier 2. And that's a stretch because I don't think anyone knows who they are somehow.
I know. I don't know how either, but hopefully some people found them through our podcast. All right, the next band is The Offspring. They were initially a tier 1, and you guessed it, they stayed a tier 1.
The Legends.
Legendary.
Okay, next is Meet Me at the Altar. Initially a tier 3 and a tier 3 still, but that doesn't mean in the future they won't move up a spot.
I love that optimism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they're awesome. I think that they're just starting out, and I think that they have already some really good traction. So I think that they do have the potential to move up for sure.
Exactly.
All right, this next one might be a shocker.
Oh.
Blink-182. They were a tier 1. They're still a tier 1, baby.
Stayed a tier 1.
Tier 1 for life.
Excuse me. We can't cut that one out, but that's okay.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay. Next is Tonight Alive. Originally a tier 3, and they stayed at tier 3. Wish they could be a tier 2, but their stats just did not give them that enough to put them up.
Yeah, they're a tier 2 in your heart.
A tier 2 in my heart.
For sure, but tier 3. The next band is Man Overboard. They were initially a tier 3, and as much as I love them, based on their numbers, they are still a tier 3.
And then last but not least is Plus 44, a tier 3 initially, and then stayed a tier 3. And honestly, it's because they're no longer making music, so it is what it is, right?
And they have one album.
One album.
Yeah.
Which was
for
a good
sure.
album.
It was, yes. Had some hits on it, for sure. All
So,
right, well...
listeners, tell us what you think of these bands. How did we do? Do you agree or disagree? And maybe suggest a genre for next time, maybe for episode 5 or episode 6. We do want to eventually get down into like a deep dive listen, so we're going to change things up here soon.
Yes, I think we said after the 5th, during the 5th episode, we could maybe change it up. And so yeah, check out our playlist that Jenna is curating. It's in our link tree in our Instagram bio, and give us some feedback on what you like, what you don't like, and let us know what genre we should hear next.
I want to give a special thanks to Matt, of course, for doing our music. Saw him live and it was fantastic. If you haven't already, check out his video, No Johns. And then also another shout out to Michael Zola, who created our graphics for the podcast. Again, and a really amazing graphic artist, not just being biased. And then not biased at all. And then another thank you to Marnie for jumping in this week.
Yes, thank you to all of those people. Amazing. We've got a great team, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.